Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen, for our second part of the morning session. We will take a look at IPEX V3. What is so important in the new features and how you, as IPEX users, can make the best out of it. And not just out of IPEX, but also, most importantly, out of your work. We are going to do a just short overview visit of the IPEX V3 website. And like always, please feel free to raise any questions, make any comments. The more the better, because today we are also taking any kind of positive and constructive criticism at heart, because this is the whole point of a meeting like this. I will also like to introduce to you briefly our colleague from the European Parliament, Claudia Constantinescu-Dunca, who is the new project manager in charge of IPEX, and beside that, a lot of other applications, ECPRD and Connect among them. Claudia is over there. She's for the first time here with us, so she will take good notes, any kind of inputs, and hopefully in the near future we can also implement some of the ideas coming from you. So this is the short introduction. Let's move on to the IPEX website. As you know, thank you. As you know, it's now a little bit over a year that the new IPEX is online. It's been a long maturing phase of this process because of COVID, because of remote work, and all the challenges this kind of situations are bringing up. I'm very happy to be able to do this short presentation for you. As users, what do you need from IPEX? What are you looking for? When you are looking for IPEX, are you typing ipex.eu or are you Googling for information? When you don't find information on IPEX, what are you thinking about? Oh, it's the people in Brussels. Let me send Calin an email on this, or try to figure out if there is someone closer to you, if you can address a question to your correspondent. Maybe your correspondent knows something like that. Or, yes, send an email to the Perm rep in Brussels asking, what's going on? Why don't we find this kind of information? So trying to give you a more user-focused presentation, we'll just quickly show you the menu on the IPEX homepage. The calendar, which was mentioned several times. I think it was one of the first core elements of IPEX beside subsidiarity. Because it was a period before 2004, 2006, when you had a website for correspondence, for conference of speakers of national parliaments. You had one for the meetings of secretary generals of EU parliaments. You had one for COSAC, which was then leading in terms of IT development. It was still quite advanced for its time. And then the speakers decided to have one calendar, one central calendar for interparliamentary events, and this to be hosted by IPEX. And we have the calendar here. Then second core business was the legislative database. All the scrutiny in the pre-subsidiarity check period, There were a lot of testing, again, through COSAC. Some of you might remember that transitional period and how this started. But we also have new sections here. For subsidiarity scrutiny, we have the calculating deadlines, the newest one, the oldest one, running up and down. Documents with high activity, a new feature, and maybe we can share some input. Do you use this? Do you know about this section of IPEX? Is it really interesting for you? What is it missing there? Or what can make it really very useful? Two new sections, EU affairs documents and research and information. And this is the part where you can add reports, you can add newsletters. If you know it really, really good. If not, maybe we can discover it together today. Then the part on parliaments. This is the home of the national parliaments. Each national parliament has a page, an individual page, in which gets the chance to present its ways of working, what are the main contacts for EU matters, or the correspondent, links to different pages and sub-pages to relevant information, what kind of content is there to find. Then we have the basic documents on IPEX, on interparliamentary cooperation, on more obscure parts of the interparliamentary cooperation history. For example, the Budapest language regime, which set which are the technical languages in interparliamentary cooperation, or you can find a whole range of documents, programming documents of IPEX, the work program. You have the digital strategy. News. It's not old news, but it's rather the new news part. We had in IPEX V2 news, but not as engaging, if you want. There are new features we will look at. Then our first network we host, the Democracy Support Network. It will get more focused attention in the near future. So again, inputs here today and also later on with Marta's intervention. I hope it will prove to be a good brainstorming. Conferences, something which was mentioned by a lot of you as interesting, as important to find everything in one place. This is what we are offering here now with a new structure, a bit more user-friendly, hopefully, and also a bit more visible. And then last but not least, contacts of the speakers, of secretary generals of EU parliaments, the IPEX board, the IPEX correspondents, COSAC network, democracy support network. Again, a part which will get some extra attention, but it's also one of the parts which are, let's say, a bit feeble, because there are so many moving parts, and every moving part is one national parliament. This kind of information is really highly reliable on the timely, accurate inputs coming from national parliaments, exactly like scrutiny. So if we want something reliable, if we want something that is there for everyone to use, you need to bring in somehow common harmony, this kind of parts. But okay, this is a quick overview. Let's look at some of the elements I just mentioned and see what's interesting for you and what can be expected from the system in relationship to your work. The news carousel. This is the very top of the page. Through a quite ingenious algorithm, different pieces of information from across the website are being pushed on the front page of IPEX. This top carousel, this slider menu. How does it happen that we have this kind of information there? I won't bore you with the very technical parts of it. I have to admit I don't understand half of it myself, but with the help of the DG ITEC colleagues, we are working on this part in order to have it quite useful. I will show you as an example the news which was prepared for this meeting. Some new elements, you can share visuals. So if you have pictures from events, if you have pictures from key speakers, if you want to share some links inside the website, outside the website, now you can have this all inserted automatically from your back office. And this is one of the examples of keywords, the hashtags. We have the IPEX keyword, we have different keywords. Actually, there is a keyword list. How many of you know this keyword list? How many have you seen? Okay. This, it's quite a representative number today, but for you to know, this is an open list. It's supposed to be alive. I think during the earlier panel, I think Bruno and Christina mentioned this progress, something which is alive, it's a process. So we keep this list of keywords open, so any one of you, your colleagues, who are interested, following a subject, following some development, can suggest a new keyword. And as it's an ever-evolving organism, if it helps you, it will help the system. So please think about this possibility. Today, we have around 30 keywords. There is one dedicated for the Democracy Support Network. We have one for the European Parliamentary Week. We have for different topical policies. We have keywords for all the interparliamentary conferences. We have quite a bit of this. We have for the presidencies. Help us in order to help you to make these things more visible. It is also part of the IPEX presidency pack. There is a little mention there. There is also an option to use this as an aggregating tool. Every time you click on one of the hashtags, on one of the keywords, you will see all the materials, all the content on the IPEX website having this keyword. And also the type. Is it a news? Is it in the calendar? So an event with this kind of keyword. Or is it in one of the pages of the parliaments? These are the 3 documents which have an IPEX keyword attached to them and are in the national parliament pages. There's a way to look for files. If you look for news, have the 4 news with the IPEX keyword. And it's not just IPEX. We have Cossack keyword, we have for JPSG, because it's upcoming. We have for a lot of these meetings this possibility. And you can also use this to export any of these materials on social media. If this news is cooperating. So we have this start of the Swedish presidency news here. We have several keywords on it for the main IPCs, for the main interparliamentary conferences, the keyword prepared for the presidency, and then the Twitter handle of the Swedish colleagues. And this can be then shared independently outside on these mediums. We have a Twitter account, we have a YouTube channel, and somehow keeping this trend of news, sharing information, basically sharing the work you are doing in your parliaments. I will show you also on the home page another option. We have here a speech of the Swedish Parliament speaker at the opening of the parliamentary dimension, hosted on the IPEX YouTube channel and on the homepage of IPEX, and this was then further shared through social media. And I hope, Maria, you will take this home to your colleagues and let them know how this goes. We are planning to make out of this a standard sort of package, standard offer towards incoming presidencies, showing them what's out there and what are the possibilities. Because any kind of exchange of information, any kind of exchange of news and communication materials are a positive thing both for IPEX and for the other side as well. So this is news. This is the carousel at the top of the page. We have a couple of news for today, but just an example from the French Assemblée Nationale. You see all the range of topics touched by this particular material. It's a valuable way of sharing information. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts about what's here, you can always contact the colleagues. What is it about? What's the position? You have them here, and you get extra information on that. Different kind of contributions. We have here the translation in all the languages prepared by the Assemblée Nationale. We also have from the European Parliament contributions on ICM, on the committee meeting on FEM, and here you have conclusions of the meeting. So it will take you to the events part of the meeting. And this is in the calendar. It's an event. So everything is linked together. Other features on the homepage. Of course, you can still see here different materials with hashtags. But moving on to a different core task, it's the documents, it's the scrutiny. How many of our colleagues today are dealing with scrutiny? Not so many. Yeah, okay, here, very shy, yes. So I think it's a pretty representative part. What is a document with high activity for you? How would you define high activity on a document you scrutinize? Please, Luca.
Some legislative proposal that is scrutinized by many parliaments.
Are always the information there you're looking for?
No, but it gives you the impression that this legislative proposal must be important and for many parliaments, and that raise awareness for us as well.
What would you change about it?
Nothing, really.
Okay, that's good news then.
I mean, this. I'm talking about this possibility to click on one thing, so on a link of documents with high activity. So this is fine. This works. Yeah.
Thank you, Luca. Any other comments to express, please?
Hello, good morning. My name is Gonçalo. I'm from the Assembleia da República and I work at the European Affairs Committee. And in fact, this new section was very appealing. Sometimes we have some members of parliament asking us regarding specific legislative projects that are under scrutiny or under analysis from the other parliaments. And this is a very quick way to us to find this information regarding this high activity process. So the way you put it here on the website for me is very easy and very quick to get it done. And sometimes, as Lucas said, for us is also maybe in the Assembleia da República this kind of project is not yet important, or there's no questions or doubt about it, but it's always important for us to get a notion what is done in the other parliaments. So I think it's a very good aspect of the website.
Thank you, Gustavo, for sharing this kind of input. May I ask you two questions then? Is there anything you would like to see different about it? And second one, do you have an IPEX account?
For the first one, for now, I think it's good. I wouldn't change anything because it's very quick to access. You click it on the file, everything appears. I like this. The source of the information for me is a very good one. You have the legal source, the data of the subsidiarity, the 8 weeks, the deadline. It's good also. So for me, I wouldn't change it. In, the aspect, the visual aspect, it's very easy to get. The other one, yes, I have my IPEX account created. It's a very good one. You can choose your preferences. I use IPEX every day. I want to, if I can share my experience at the website. I open IPEX every day. It's my favorite bar. All the news that you mentioned, it's for me, it's very good. It gives you a notion what is happening around in the other parliaments, and it's very easy to navigate the website. You mentioned in the documents there are some contents I'm not fully aware because sometimes you not have the total time to explore, but it's a very good job done for me.
Thank you for sharing your experience. This makes you really like a super user, I would say. Maybe some badge we can make for super users, but it's really.
I would
really
wear
good
it. Yes, I will wear it.
If you have it already in your home bar up there, so that might get as a badge. But this will tie with another topic, using the IPEX database. The documents, doing scrutiny, looking for the type of information like scrutiny, news, inputs like this on IPEX, and having an account will give you some extra tools. This is something now being still perfected, and I will show you in a moment what I'm talking about. If we are just performing any general search on IPEX, you would go to the document search engine, to the database. Anything you're looking for. If it's documents, if it's dossiers, if it's institutions, if it's procedures, you can find anything. You can go by keyword. It will work much better in the near future with keywords in order to make the results even more accurate. But if you're logged in, the moment you're looking at the result, any kind of result, let's just pick randomly any document here. So when you're logged in this search, you will have here an extra button to tell you save your search. So by saving a search, if you're looking every day for something, if you're following a topic, I know, Fit for 55, what was there earlier on, if you're looking for contributions for a number of 2 or 3 or 5 parliaments with whom you are cooperating closely. If you want to know in a document with high activity what is new there in the 8 weeks, for example, running up to the subsidiarity deadline, you can subscribe to one of these tailor-made searches. You subscribe to that, you are saving your search pattern, and then you will get notifications in your inbox. But this goes into parts. Knowing what you are looking for, so what is it you use most, and having an account. So this is a little prompt for everyone working with IPEX to follow the example of Gustavo. Have an account and put it somewhere so that you don't forget where you have your account, and try using it. As I mentioned already once or twice, IPEX is evolving. In order to make a quite complex database the best that it can be, we are still working on some fine-tuning. So this fine-tuning will come to Apex somehow in the next couple of months, so May, June. And I'm using this opportunity together with Claudia to ask you if you would like to be part of the future testing of the new search engine, of the new search options, of the new tools getting into that new version, IPEX 16, and the old features or older features being fine-tuned. So please keep this in mind. I will remind you once more towards the end of this conference, but the kind of inputs you are able to give us from your day-to-day work are quite valuable for us. So please give us a hand in this testing, and then we'll work on the details to see how we can improve this. This is the documents part. Two of the newer subsections here. I know, how many of you know of the existence of these two subsections, European Affairs and Research and Information? You are also super users, for sure. So you can have here the short description, what kind of individual parliamentary documents go here, if you have common joint parliamentary documents, so common for more parliaments, actors involved in a conference, for example, or if you're doing research projects together, if you're publishing some documents together, they can go here. So I have on the individual part, again, the Assemblée Nationale topping the list here. And it's basically everything your parliament considers interesting, one. Two, it's not related to a legislative or non-legislative proposal, so that it's in the document database attached to a document. And three, if you upload it here and you share it, either through news, either to some outside links, it's important. So if you put this information here, it will be important for everyone else. If you don't, and if you don't share it, it will perish. It will reach a very, very abrupt end. And as I said, resolutions, you can see here on the rule of law. We have a lot from the Lithuanian Seimas, and in the early period of the war in Ukraine, this was trending a lot, if you want, as a topic. And we created the keyword Ukraine. And by using it, okay. Doesn't want to cooperate with me now. So we can choose another one. As I said, fine-tuning. It will come to that. But by using the keywords, you will get exactly the same kind of results as we've seen earlier with IPEX, if it's in events, if it's in documents, if it's in parliamentary pages. So this is the section with EU affairs, individual and joint. And as I said already before, Agne is working hard on sharing the work done by the Lithuanian Parliament. Thank you again for that. And we can only hope that this is an example to be followed. And then for research and information, I think this is rather moving towards the research library area of parliaments. Those of you who also work with ECPRD might be more familiar here. And we have some examples here shared by Croatian colleagues, Belgian Senate, our Cypriot colleagues too. So different areas, different tools, but again, the main point is to add information and to share it. So for research papers, not so many parliaments willing to share. So I hope this will be changed somehow in the future. If not, you have to face the reality. It's not really something which is on the top of the list of what you are using IPEX for. But this is the document section. If there are any questions, comments on this before we move further on, please, Gustavo.
I had a question here regarding the keywords you were talking about. So, as I understand, if you associate a keyword with a news, a document, whatever, if I write it down on the search bar, for example, Ukraine or the European Parliament elections or something like that, it will appear on this database. That's correct. And you mentioned also that there's a keyword list available or not. I understood that, where I can check all the keywords already existing, because sometimes on the search base, if you don't write or type it down the correct keyword, it's very difficult to find it. So I couldn't find it here in the website, that keyword list.
These are three very interesting points you're raising here. One, the list is available, but we only distributed it until now within the network of IPEX correspondents. But we can always find a way to expand this distribution list, or however, find a common way to make this better known. Because if it's interesting for you, it's interesting for us to have it out there so that more keywords come in. Because with more keywords, like requests for keywords, it means that new content will come in. So it's a very, very strong point advocating towards sharing this kind of information. Then, here on important issues, can already find the materials which are having these keywords here. So these are the materials trending, if you want, so that I'm using another social media term here. Or see all. This is the position all. If you click on IPEX, you only see the ones on IPEX. If we go for democracy support, you will see a lot. But we are displaying them in batches of 3 times 3. So otherwise, the carousel will be too big. So this is one thing. And by going to one of these, okay, maybe not the best choice here because I'm opening straight the document. But if we are going back to the example with the news of our French colleagues, and I just clicked on democracy support, you will get to this menu. And all the materials to which this is, yeah. So at this moment, your gateway through keywords would be from the front page. We can look how to make this better, to map somehow to make it easier.
For me, I understood. If I have any question, I have my correspondent here, it's Vanessa, so I could speak Vanessa. I think it's easy for me to connect with my correspondent directly because she's my way to you. So I just wanted to understand how this works. And it's and this type of information, the 3 types that you mentioned is very good, because otherwise it would be very complicated. And it's very easy to navigate. You just click it and you search it for the information you want. So
it was this kind of input that brought us to doing this. How do you make navigation simple and tailored on topics or on issues of interest? This is how we came. But by mapping more, by hearing more of your inputs on this kind of things, you can try at least to make it better. And maybe mapping some of the main features, but starting from the front towards the user, could be something to be the work of the work group on training. You will hear a very short description of what that is doing in another session today. But this is something to think about, mapping. Thank you. Please, Jojo.
So I have only one question concerning, for example, sharing research papers, because we have a research department and they are preparing documents which are published on our website, but they are prepared only in Hungarian language and there is no capacity to prepare them also in English. So what kind of solution do you think for that? Or so we do not, shall we share also these documents which are available in Hungarian, or it has no sense? So maybe you can.
Let me start by saying that...
Because you can use this translation, but maybe it's not possible with PDF format. And
I think except for 2 or 3 official languages in the Union, everyone else has exactly the same concern. I'm doing in my parliament research papers. Will somebody be interested in, I don't know, reading in Croatian or in Lithuanian and so on? I think the halfway solution, because most probably there are very interesting articles, very interesting information in those materials, would be one, to put a link only to your website or wherever you find this, and to have a translation of the summary, the list of contributions. Because this is half a page. How many articles, how many contributions do you have in a newsletter like this? 5, 10 maybe? So just the titles. And if I'm looking for something, the position of the Hungarian parliament on I don't know, negotiations with the United Kingdom, if I see a title there, I know. I will send Csaba an email or to Daniel and say, hey, listen, what is this about? And then Csaba can tell me, I know the colleague, she's done a hell of a job. She spent, I don't know, 3 months preparing this thing. And you just create contacts. And you're just basically bringing the whole network to move. But it's just the titles, if it's interesting, you get your contact person, and then you get your information. It would be still a lot. Thank you. Anyone else at this point? Oh, please, sorry, Maria.
I was wondering about the search field, the search term. It includes both the keywords and regular words. Are there any plans about separating them? Because the keywords is a narrower result, should give, than the other search, and they're still in the same field.
The keyword search is not a search per se. It's a way of organizing information. You're not looking for Ukraine as a keyword to do a Boolean search to go through that type of query in the database, because that's what you do. You do a query in that. But you are looking for that particular keyword, apply like metadata to an item in the system. It's like clustering. You use it as clustering. You put the sticker on different objects, and when you touch that sticker, everything will gather in one point.
Yeah.
To the topic of the regular keywords for the query, this is, as I said, it's our ongoing concern now, to make it better, to make it more clearer, to make it somehow structured in, if you want, a search philosophy, what's behind the search engine, and what it's there as information. And this will come up, and I hope I can count on you to help us in the testing, because you have this, as I said before, this double hat experience, and it will be really very beneficial, just like anyone else fitting on this. But this is then it's a longer.
Yeah, I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. So, any other contributions, questions, critique, no, on this? We are moving then quickly also to the home of national parliaments. So the list of national parliaments have everyone here with a page. Every page is the calling card of your institutions. We can add more information, you can add more visuals, links, and most importantly, details on the parliamentary procedures. How do you deal with regular scrutiny? How does the 8-week subsidiarity deadline scrutiny works for you? And we have all this information here. I would like to give an example of a good parliament page. Any volunteers? Yes. Who is missing from? Always a good example here. So this is how we start. Who are the people who can answer your questions? At the top of the page, you have these people. You have Estelle and Kati Stuatz, the long-time hardworking collaborators of IPEX, and we give you these contacts. So any kind of questions, any kind of issues, if these two people can't help you further, I think it's difficult to move forward. Then you can always rely on also the people in Brussels, on the permanent representatives. At a glance, what is the system? We are talking here about a bicameral parliament, and a quick overview on that, and most importantly, takes you out to all the sources of information, the primary sources of information. Some pictures from the very beautiful parliamentary building, newly refurbished, and please.
Yes, but I see that the last two photos are from the old building, so it's not actual. But we will put the new one from the new parliamentary building. But we just opened it 2 months ago, so.
That's always a good way to drape it. Of course, it's important to have the pictures here to already give you a hint about what's there. But if that's the newest ones, even better. It's just for the sake of example. It's the entry, it's the gateway, as I said. Then the EU matters, how this handled, the scrutiny in the committees, the powers, and the subsidiarity control mechanism, as I mentioned. Here, our colleagues chose to introduce a hyperlink. Behind this hyperlink, it's a broken link.
We have also a new website since 2 months. So basically there has to be some updates.
You see, it's a good opportunity to review things. So thank you for bearing with me. It wasn't premeditated. Every national parliament was requested at one point, and we have it in all of them, this breakdown of the 8 weeks subsidiarity scrutiny procedure. Some in greater detail, some in more general terms because of the internal procedures. But it's highly important for everyone interested in interparliamentary cooperation, working with national parliaments, doing research, to know that this resource is there. Because this is so seldomly fully understood. That it's not one system we are talking about, or 2 systems. It's rather 40 systems you have to take into account, 39, and to focus on this. And this is one of the resources and one of the places you can find information. And last but not least, links to national legislation, to other actors in the European affairs system. You see here all the framework law for cooperation between the Parliament, government, EU Information Act, and so on. Every Parliament has the power to make it better, more informative, somehow more engaging by adding more links, adding more material. It's all in your hands. So what you put here is what everyone else sees. If you don't put much in it, let's see that not many people see much. Basic documents, I already mentioned some of the key documents here. We have the IPEX guidelines, which were approved last month in Prague by the Secretary Generals. The latest one in also interparliamentary cooperation and the enhanced interparliamentary cooperation to modern technology. These were two documents somehow prepared pre-COVID and then adopted in the COVID period, and my colleagues will give you more information about the IPEX rolling work program in a bit. But this is one part of IPEX where you can find this information. News. We already started with the news. Here you can browse through the archive, looking for keywords, like the general keywords. Show all the news, look by month, look by year. And you can see here with different features, like with the pictures. Here we have a QR code we'll be using in a couple of hours or so. I think we discussed about this, but questions, here I'm happy to answer if there are any. And our big network, we are hosting now the Democracy Support Network. I will only show it to you from a distance because Marta will tell you more about the content. So this is just the graphic overview of it. I won't touch upon the topic of the content. As I said, it's the first network to be hosted on IPEX. It's a work in progress. It was an experiment. We are both working on seeing how this gets more helpful. The main two subdivisions are geographical and topical. So by partner countries and regions, you will get to the main beneficiaries of these activities, of the Democracy Support Network, and the democracy support activities are following the 5 core tasks set by our colleagues in the European Parliament, DG Export, for their activities. Here you can see a very long list of the already many projects which were either initiated or already completed under the aegis of the European Parliament and with the cooperation of the national parliaments. So a lot of content for our colleagues who will speak later. And this is where I stop about this. We'll move to the conferences section. I think one way or another, at one point in time, most of you have worked either in preparing an IPC, an interparliamentary conference, or actively cooperating, participating in these meetings. We have them all here now and open for new ones. I think the last edition was sub-page on the conference on the future of Europe. Next week, maybe some of you will be joining the JPSG on Europol. Our Swedish colleagues are working hard in preparing it. This is how the entry point looks like. You have these questions and answers, first of its kind, how the European Parliament asked to have it structured, the information. But if you go to meetings, basically this is the archive. You have all the meetings with all the documents here in one click. If you're preparing a presidency, if you're preparing the conference and you start gathering information, you can look at agendas, you can look at invitations, you can look at the contacts, you can look at the way other colleagues have structured workshops, background notes, everything is here. And then in the About section, you have the main documents, so the rules of procedure, you have different legal documents on it, and of course, media gallery to be expanded with new material when available. And this is working across the section on conferences. Maybe the most rich in information is COSAC, because it has also extra parts with the COSAC biannual report, something we call static pages, like big boxes in which we store information. In this situation, we chose to have a technical approach to link documents out, but I think it's quite familiar for most of you. And then last but not least, contacts. This is bit of the, please, Jojo. Sorry.
I'm sorry that I don't know this, but who is responsible? I know for COSAC, that's clear, who is responsible uploading these documents. And for the other conferences, always the presidency, parliament, IPEX correspondent, or who is doing that?
It comes through me.
So you are putting all information concerning this interparliamentary
All of
event?
them except COSAC. And for JPSG and Europol, it's a three-party thing. It's the presidency, it's the European Parliament, where it's two actors, and in me who have to be part of the network.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Calin, sorry, it's me.
Please,
The super
sorry.
user. I just add a comment. For me, this is a very important tool for all the preparation of our interparliamentary conference. I always use IPEX to search the documentation. Only when I don't find it here, I will try to find in other places. And I'd like to know the timing of when they are available for us users to use it. I don't understand. I think it will be with you and the presidency the moment they are ready to be shared. Because one of the most useful thing for me is that because it's a place I know where all information regarding the conference is available for me. And I think that's very, very useful. That's one comment. The other one is we had last year the Eurojust conference, and it's not available here. It's something you will put it. It's who decides which conference will be on this list. That's a question I have.
I will start from the end. Eurojust is not an IPC yet. It's in the calendar, but as an IPC per se, the treaty didn't mention it in the same way it mentioned, for example, JPSG.
That's a criteria you use.
Yeah, because that's how it came. The legal basis, it came from the Lisbon Treaty, and this is how it goes here. With that one, there are still different voices saying that it's not a pure ICM and it's not a pure IPC. Maybe it should be one of the two. But you find it in the calendar with all the documents, the Eurojust meetings. Secondly, the coordination period. Normally, there is some sort of consultation discussion before the presidency start, the parliamentary dimension. And if the presidency has particular wishes, either to have one-on-one correspondence on this kind of documents, or use the internal network of the national parliament representatives in Brussels, they have to agree on this and then circulate the documents. When they circulate the documents, there are two, let's say, milestones. If they use the internal network of the perm reps for draft pre-public, it's off the table. And sometimes there are quite long delays. If it's without reservations, I wouldn't say the same hour, but basically the same day documents are circulated, unless it's, I don't know, at midnight or 11 o'clock at midnight, they go up on the website. There is a, if your angle goes in that direction, there is something specific about JPSG. As I said, there are 3 sites, and these 3 sites actually are 4, because the EP has 2 actors involved, 1 more administration, 1 more political. So there is consultation within the EP, then with the presidency, and then with IPEX, and then with circuit. So there is sometimes a bit of delay. You're welcome. So, please, yes, Michel.
I was just wondering, so all the other IPC, ICMs and so on are only in the calendar. They are not as a group somewhere in this part here. I was just wondering if you really want to have a one-stop shop for interparliamentary cooperation and so on and information, it would maybe be useful to have also a separate category on all those kind of things happening at the European Parliament or organized by a presidency, which are not in the other categories, instead of having to go to a calendar or search on some name of an conference or so on. So you have conferences, and besides the conference mentioned now, have a separate category with all the other conferences. So you have one place where you can find all conferences.
Thank you, Michel. And this is, it's good, it's bringing back some questions from the earlier panel. I didn't go to the search option in the calendar. So if we go to the calendar like this, to the subsection, you have here several search options. And by event type, you find this. So you have event types for meetings organized by the national parliament, then you have by the presidency, have organized by the European Parliament, and this is basically what somehow corresponds to the European Parliament calendar, which is sent around twice a year. You have for the conference of speakers, have meetings co-organized by the presidency with the European Parliament. It's all here. It's a more, let's say, modern way of aggregating information instead of having lists. But more importantly, if you look at the speakers' conclusions, which Bruno mentioned, 2004, this was quite a clear mandate to have calendar with all the events, and they were then JPCs and JCMs, known as the IPC and ICM back then, to have them all in one list. No discrimination, if you want. One way forward would be to look at some more creative ways to aggregate this, maybe have a hashtag for this kind of events. But otherwise, if you just choose the interparliamentary meetings by presidency, you get them all. And here you can choose, this you will have the newest, the ones which are most remote in the future. If you want to be quite thorough about this thing, let me check. I don't know why this is not cooperating, but I've chosen the Swedish Parliament. So we have all the events the Swedish Parliament is organizing in their 6 months. Within this list, then you can choose if it's COSAC, if it's CFSP, CSDP, or by resetting, you can have only the presidency events, you can have the mixed events, so co-organized, and then you can also add extra things. Where was the Swedish Parliament? So you have filters, but as I said, there are always ways on improving this, making them maybe more intuitive, the kind of grouping somehow to work on this.
That's true, but this works only for people who know the website a little bit. If I'm, for example, a student, I'm interested in interparliamentary cooperation. I go to IPEX, I see on the top conferences. I go to conferences and I see only a limited amount of conferences, and all the rest is hidden in the calendar, you see? So if I'm someone not very familiar with those kind of things, or even with the interparliamentary structure, I go to there and I think, okay, conferences, I want all the conferences in interparliamentary conference in European Union context, and I think I find them all there, but they're not all there. You see, that's a bit, or you should have some sort of complementary information on how to look for the other conferences. But if you're not aware of that, and you don't go looking in detail in calendars and so on, you're missing quite a few conferences. And then you go to the website of the presidency, you go to the European Parliament website to search for other conferences which are not in that conference list. You see, that's, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but
just to understand, is it that it's too complex or opaque somehow, the system, the way information is presented, or is it that there are background information missing on how to perform the search, how to find the information?
No, the problem is, for example, a new colleague comes in a committee and she wants to know something about the interparliamentary conferences in his or her field. She goes to IPEX, she sees conferences and goes to conferences. They have speakers conference, COSAC, and so on, but not all the other ICMs which are organized by the European Parliament, for example, or other IPCs which are organized by a presidency parliament or any other parliament. They are in the calendar, but I don't know that from looking at the section conferences. So you have to, if you don't know that, you don't find it, and you go to other websites.
They are in the calendar.
Yes, but you don't know that. As a new user of IPEX, you go to IPEX, you search for, you want to know what conferences are there. You go conferences, you see the different conferences, but that's it. You don't see any other ICMs or IPCs. That is my concern. They are a bit hidden in the calendar for someone new there.
So you can do this two ways. If you do a search, you either go by the content, or if you're absolutely blank, no previous knowledge or anything, you just perform a keyword search. And if you're blank, nothing at all, it's like using Google. Of course, then what you get, the main bulk of information, will take you to something like this, which is further splitting up the sections where you can find information. and you started from zero. So you are just typing in, I don't know, Europol, Eurojust, Green Deal, anything, from the homepage, from here. And then you will get to the, and you have from everything, then second best would be calendar. And when you get the bulk of information, you have fine-tuning on types of information. So maybe it's a bit counterintuitive, but it's very complex system. You have a lot of information already. So it's a bit like that. But what I've seen you, just one moment, please. One moment. So this is the way on how to look. But I agree that we can look at the same problem in different angles and maybe look for other ways. And we can continue this, please, Barbara.
Sorry, I just, maybe it's more easy than it looks. I think, me personally, I have this calendar on my wall in my office, stick to the wall, and I think it would be really useful that we have this EP calendar that contains also the ICMs, also the presidency, in one page. And if this could be uploaded on IPEX, it could be useful also for these beginners, also for all of us when we are already on IPEX and searching for something, to have this overview of the events that are going to happen in this half year coming. Because when we search through the presidencies, there is situation that there is Swedish presidency having, most of the events, but we still have, as Czech presidency, speakers coming. So it's like really combination of presidencies who are organizing events and plus the EP. So what I was mentioning last time, I meant just to put there a copy PDF on IPEX, this overall calendar, that it's for use there for everybody, that we don't have to look at our walls and have it on IPEX everywhere with us. Sorry.
Thank you. I think this is something the EP, if they want to have it there, have to answer to it. Secondly, it's already on the EP website, so we don't double do this, the information. And then, as I said, if you know what you're looking for, if you're looking for speakers conference, you get all of them. If you're looking for a presidency, a particular presidency, you have it here. If you're looking for all the events in the presidency, you also have it here. So it's a bit more of, either you're going fishing with a rod or you go with the net. But of course, this is something which can be still analyzed. Thank you so much. I'm being told way over time. I hope this was instructive. I think we'll still have the chance to discuss. Thank you for your attention.